As the federal government remains in shutdown, a new proposal from Republican lawmakers seeks to financially penalize members of Congress for their inability to keep the government open. The initiative, called the SHUTDOWN Act, Stop Holding Up Taxpayers, Deny Wages on Washington's Negligence, would impose a special tax on lawmakers' salaries for every day the shutdown continues. Normally, senators and representatives continue to receive their full pay during a shutdown because the Constitution requires compensation for members of Congress and the 27th Amendment prohibits altering their pay within the same term. This protection has long frustrated citizens who believe that lawmakers should share the financial consequences of their political stalemates. To bypass these legal restrictions, the new measure would not technically reduce congressional salaries, but instead levy a targeted daily tax. The result would be a shrinking take-home paycheck as long as the government is closed. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio is one of the leading voices pushing this idea. He argues that if Congress cannot fulfill its most basic duty, funding the government, then lawmakers should not continue to enjoy full compensation. The message is simple: shared accountability. According to recent figures, the average annual salary for a member of Congress is around $174,000, with leadership positions earning more. Supporters of the plan believe this income should not remain untouched while millions of federal employees go without pay. The proposal, however, raises legal and political questions. Because of constitutional protections, any attempt to alter congressional pay has traditionally been blocked or delayed. By framing the penalty as a tax, the SHUTDOWN Act tries to avoid running afoul of those rules. Still, legal experts note that this could face challenges in court, especially if critics argue it violates the spirit of the 27th Amendment. The shutdown itself has entered its third day, with no clear resolution. In the Senate, efforts to pass temporary funding measures have stalled. Democrats insist that any stopgap bill must include provisions to preserve expiring healthcare tax credits under the Affordable Care Act, while Republicans have attempted to push forward shorter-term funding plans without those guarantees. Because most legislation in the Senate requires 60 votes, Republicans alone cannot pass their preferred bill, leaving the chamber gridlocked. As the stalemate drags on, federal agencies have begun executing their shutdown contingency plans. Hundreds of thousands of government employees are being furloughed, meaning they are sent home without pay until funding is restored. Others, deemed essential, must continue working but will not be paid until after the shutdown ends. While employees in past shutdowns were eventually granted back pay, the uncertainty is deeply disruptive for families who rely on regular income. Adding further tension, the administration has asked agencies to prepare plans not only for temporary furloughs, but also for permanent layoffs. Such reductions in force would mark a significant break from previous shutdown practices, which typically spared workers from losing their jobs outright. This has sparked widespread concern among labor unions and watchdog groups, who argue that such measures could violate the Anti-Deficiency Act, a law preventing the government from making spending commitments without congressional approval. Lawsuits have already been filed challenging these directives, describing them as unlawful and arbitrary. In short, the SHUTDOWN Act represents an effort to impose direct consequences on lawmakers by taxing their salaries during shutdowns. Yet the larger political deadlock continues, with both parties entrenched in disputes over funding priorities. Until a compromise emerges, federal workers, agencies, and citizens remain caught in the middle of an unresolved crisis.